Let me turn it right over to Priscilla Moss. Oh, we're doing some different things on the show today. What many of you don't know is that this is the Laughter Talk Show, and I am Marguerite Fair's right-hand person, assistant, publicist, and generally I'm just the real go-getter on the show. She doesn't talk about me too much. And we are going to be interviewing our divine Miss Marguerite. Hi, Marguerite. We'll do that in a second, but there's a lot going on, and why recently Marguerite ended up with a sinus thing going on, and she wasn't able to shoot her regular guest spots and had to postpone everything. You know, darling, this is what happens when Mother Nature says you need a rest. So what I'm going to do today, what Marguerite asked me to do, is to interview her. Marguerite, about today is, now you recently, I saw this on LinkedIn, you wrote an article about your feature film, The Racists. And what was interesting, if any of you, I know she posted it online, so if any of you read it, it's interesting because you said that this is your first feature film by Grannytino. Now, whatever do you mean by that, Marguerite? I've never heard you be referred to as Grannytino, so what's with that? If you actually read the article, you should already know the answer to that question, Priscilla. You're going to make me work for this, aren't you, Marguerite? I think so. I think we know that's what's going to happen. Was there any doubt? Hello? So let's do this. You explain to our audience why you think of Grannytino, and by the way, are you on any medications that we should know about? What? Are you serious? Hello? Hello? Well, since you did ask, Carlos is my editor, and he gave me the nickname Grannytino because it was really, editing a feature film is an awesome experience, and when you do it, you really get to see your work slow down. You get to see the whole process of it. And it was amazing, and it's like, every day you're seeing it all over again, and you're seeing the scenes and everything, so it was really an exciting experience and process. And early on, Carlos had said to me, Marguerite, because he told me how he worked with Quentin Tarantino for a large block of time on one of his films, and in different areas, and he learned a lot about Quentin, and he said to me that he was astounded at how much my little film reminded him of Quentin Tarantino's work. And I looked at him and I was delighted because I said, really? I said, because he's like my favorite filmmaker. And a lot of people might wonder about that, but it's like what I always said about Quentin Tarantino's work is each scene is like its own movie. Everything is covered and you can't stop watching his work. It's like everything in a Tarantino film is perfect and it's different. It's not like other films. And it just, to me, it's like having a really good meal. I feel completely satisfied by Quentin Tarantino. But anyway, that's how, Carlos just laughed and he said to me, he goes, I'm going to call you Grannytino. He says, at your age, you're making this film and it's fantastic, and you happen to have that vision, and it's very obvious in the film you're doing. And I said, wow, that was like a huge compliment because I'm a very, very big fan. Well, oh my goodness. Well, oh, that is very inspiring. Thank you for sharing that. That you really are very, very motivated by empowerment to women. Closely together, and a lot of people that do know this about me is I do have some very strong opinions on the aging process. I had seen my mother and my sister just, they grew older. They were, they didn't do too well. Especially my mother and her generation. When you were 50 back in the day, you had one foot in the grave. It was like over. So, and also she had taken a lot of pills. She was in an automobile accident that she just never fully recuperated from, and she had deteriorating health over the years because of that and not taking good care of herself, unfortunately. And I noticed that she like lived vicariously through me. She didn't tend to do things on her own anymore, and it was very sad. And of course, she had limited options. Back then you raised your family and basically you became a grandmother and you doted on your grandchildren, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but when I looked at that package, for me, I knew that there was more I wanted to do because I've always been artistic, and I said there has to be another way to live life older. I don't think it should be one way. I never brought into that story that you turn 65, you get old, you get your watch and you die. I never bought into that. So yes, to answer that question, it's extremely important to me to be an empowered woman during the aging process and to help and inspire other women to do the same thing, because we all have choices, and I'm about making choices that make us healthier, make us happier, and inspire us, because if we do that, we can inspire our grandchildren, we can inspire our families, and show little girls growing up that they have choices, and there are a lot of ways to express your creativity, even when you get older. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you. I mean, that is true. It is our own belief systems that tend to limit us. Okay. Now, in looking at the article, you say that in the article, Carlos helped you to understand that to expect perfection in the first film is not realistic. Now, would you explain to our audience what exactly do you mean by that? About that is that when you do have a restricted budget, Priscilla, what happens is that there are a lot of problems that arise, technical challenges, situations on set that you just can't possibly predict. And that is what happened. And for me, and with Carlos, because Carlos would come over here and we would be editing every day and working side by side for like almost 3 months. So when you're editing, what happens is you're seeing everything slow motion in front of you. And if there's a flaw, if a scene was cut too soon, or something happened, or a voice trailed off or something, and we didn't realize it, it has to be fixed in editing. And usually, Carlos did a really good job. So we got things fixed, and so that up and a little bit antsy and everything, how that goes. But the thing was, because he said to me, look, Marguerite, at the end of this shoot, you got yourself a movie. And he was really very impressed with it. So, and he's edited, like I said, he worked with Tarantino, so he really said you can't expect perfection in your first movie. He says, in fact, there's no perfection in any movie. Well, Priscilla, the thing that makes this movie completely unique is that it was done by me. I was 70 when I made the movie. I'm 71 now. So, and when I wrote this script to be shot here in my home. I tend to love to just like my home and my production studio. I shoot the shows here, I shoot projects here, I have parties here, and I shot my first feature film here because it really, when you have primarily one location, which we did, and we used just about every area of the house and the yard. I have a beautiful yard here. But when you do that, you save a lot of money on locations and permits and everything, and that does help contain the budget. So I created it that way. So in a sense, as I wrote it, it was already being blocked because I knew, and I always tell my actors, I like them to own the character. They know all about the character before the shooting and they make it their own, and we had tremendous actors, by the way. And so when they do that, they have a certain environment to work in, and it's here. And because of the way I wrote it, they automatically knew what to do with their bodies, where to go, which made it very natural. I wanted this movie to make you feel like you were part of it, like you were a fly on the wall, not like you're sitting back and watching some spectacular movie studio film. That's not what this is. This is something, and that's why I said that's what makes it unique. Can you share with us what your favorite part of making this movie was? Oh, that would be working with the actors. That's my favorite part. That's a no-brainer. And the actors were wonderful. And the two leads were Juan Felipe Restrepo and Carol Hannon. And they played the two leads, the two characters that were in this confrontation that they had. And we also had Teddy Alexis Rodriguez, who played a love interest to the main character. And we also had Cammie Middleton and Bobby Davis and Spencer Frankieberger. And it was like they were all, they executed their roles perfectly. I always say my favorite part of being a director is working with the actors. The final step that's happening that you want to share with everyone today. Well, now we are going to have the world's premiere for The Racists on May 8th at Warner Brothers Studios. Time will be it's a Friday, and the time will be 4 to 6 p.m. and it is by invitation only because it needs an RSVP, because you have to be on the Warner Brothers guest list to get onto the parking lot and then the studio grounds. So, you have to contact me. Well, to get invited, you can go to theracist.biz and to the contact page, fill in the form, and if there are still available seats, we'll get back to you, and if not, we'll still let you know. But yes, so go to theracist.biz and fill out the contact form, and if for whatever reason, if that wasn't working or something, you can email me directly at writermarguerite@gmail.com and inquire about tickets, and I will get back to you, or I'll have Priscilla get back to you. Fair. Wow, that's exciting. Show, and thank you for the interview, Priscilla. And now everybody, if you enjoy the show, please subscribe, like our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, and share the links with your friends, because that's how we get